Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Lucia Arden, the news of Lucia Arden here in USA. I wanted to say this, and I know that many have seen these points and have seen this information, but we need to reiterate and never give up. But we need to ask ourselves, tell the protesters this: they use the Palestinians as a tool of war, not just as a shield, but an actual military form of a tool, a body as a bait. They use the body as a bait and a psychological control of the minds of the protesters and the ignorant of their entire plan to enter into countries of the USA. So they control the mind psychologically by using the bait of a body, of the death of the Palestinians, of the minds of the people, because the Palestinians are innocent. They don't have anything to protect them. But on the other hand, they have to respect to go with Israel, because Israel's the one that's going to protect them. And that's another point. Let me get to that. But we have to see that. Look at this, that tell the protesters that the Islamic people that are with the Iranian Islamic controls, they've entered into USA, they've even entered into Russia, and UK and many other nations, and they want geopolitical powers, and their agenda, that is their geopolitical powers and their agenda of death, almost worse than communism, because communism allows the people to work and the women to have rights, and they're able to have thinking and have even schooling. But this is like the death of the human being, the death of the identity of a person. That's their mentality, and yet. And so they have a geopolitical powers. That's their agenda. As I told you, that's what's going to happen, because I'm a geopolitical specialist. I told you about this. My name is Lucia Arden. Please help donate. Donate to my work. I've done this for many years before 2007. It's LuciaArden.com. There's many things you could purchase from me, or you could just donate. I have books you could purchase: Our Need to Give to the World, Heal American Love of God, Arise to God's Truth. They're both on Amazon. And then also you could purchase Savi. It's a beautiful company that's a passive income that's made organized in America. It's an American company. And also Modera, the best collagen, top collagen. I also sell stem cells, Life Wave. It's excellent. It's top in the nation for beautiful stem cell patches that take care of your health needs in every way. And we also have beauty supplies of lovely beauty products. Please look me up, Lucia Arden. So I wanted to say that they enter into countries. Hamas and the Iranians, the Hezbollah, they enter into the countries of the U.S. and even in Russia, they did shootings. Did you know that? Did you see that in the news? And UK and other nations. This shows their geopolitical powers agenda of death. Yet the God of Abraham has a covenant with the Jews and his people to never forsake us. And not just the people in the Jews in Israel, but his people across the world. The question is, why does not Hezbollah? We know this, but it's just simplicity. It shows their mentality. Why doesn't Hezbollah? Okay, they're the northern part. They're in Lebanon, and then they also, people don't talk about this, but the Hezbollah bombed Israel, the northern part of Israel, the same day, October the 7th, that as Hamas did, and so they're working together. And it's Islamic money. It's Iranian Islamic money. So these protesters overlook this. They overlook this. All of us don't want the Palestinians to be killed. We don't want the Palestinians to be killed. Obviously, that's why there was peace for a while. Otherwise, if the Israelites wanted, if Israelis, I call them Israelites because I'm a believer of the God of Abraham. If they wanted them killed, they would have started war before Hamas did. This shows the mentality is, the question is, why does not Hezbollah not fund money using the war that they're using for the war to bring an end to the war to help the Palestinians? Why don't they use that money to stop the war with Hamas? Instead, they also incorporated themselves to war at the same time because they had a plan. But it's worse. It's one of the worst types of war because these people are helpless, and they have been for a while because there's been many wars all these years. But the land is the Israelite land, is owned by the Israelites. It's not owned by Palestine. And that shows in facts of ancient times from today. But why did Hezbollah, why did they also use monies, okay, and the Hamas together at the same time? And either one could have helped the Palestinians instead of using all the money for war to take down the people. The Palestinians, the ones that respect the Israelite, they could stay for a two-state country. And then the ones that are not going to respect each other, they should leave. The Palestinians should leave. And I believe that the Hezbollah and the Hamas should not be the police and not the controls of the country or military. They should be all out. Why didn't Hamas leave and Hezbollah leave? What gave them the authority to try to just take over that land, not only to use the Palestinians as a shield to protect themselves? Because remember, under the underground, they built a lot of their military, and they used the Palestinians as a shield and excuse in the psychological mind and brainwashing that they used for the people across the world, and even the protesters themselves. Why didn't they use monies to bring peace? And then also, I said this many times because someone told me that there's 52 countries, is that right, that are Muslim. Why didn't they use the money to bring peace? Okay, are you listening? To bring peace and get Hamas, pay Hamas and Hezbollah, get all the Palestinians out that didn't want to respect Israel and have a two-state place. Why would they use that money? You know, they have so much money, they could go to buy another area or live in another area, correct? Because they want to take control. But it also shows because they're entering. There's another point here that shows their mentality, brothers and sisters. They're entering to other countries that they want to take over geopolitical powers. But it's worse than even communists to me, but they're not as powerful as China. You know, it's very secretive. And even Russia that wants controls. So ask yourself, protesters and people, why would they go through each country, each state, and start trouble? Start trouble and protesting and saying that they're going to take over our country. And even in Los Angeles, where all the Jews are, because I lived in Los Angeles, I heard right down there on Melrose, that area right there. I used to go there because I also was a designer, and I used to go to International House of Silks and the Blue Whale. I did designing, very high-end designing for people and my own self. And I did big projects. And so I met a lot of the Jews, and I was even trying to get a job there once in the Jewish school because I studied Hebrew. But I wanted to tell you that they're right there in Los Angeles. And, you know, the Jews in Los Angeles, they've kept that strong, all those streets strong and integrated money and peaceful and everything. And those streets are not infiltrated with a lot of drugs where they live. It's a very clean area, and they've kept it so beautiful in that area. And then they had the Islamic regime start trouble when they came out of their church. That's wrong. That's totally wrong. That shows the mentality. And then they got the protesters when they brought them to New York and all the areas, Chicago, wherever they went, all the different areas, Los Angeles, different areas of Los Angeles, every state. You know all the states. England. I was shocked in UK because I studied English literature, and that's the British that should own that area, not the Muslim. The Muslims should be all taken out. That those people, year after year, they made a beautiful culture. The English people in London, in that area, that's a beautiful, beautiful culture, and that should never be forgotten. The King of England, and even though they broke off the Catholic Church, that England has a lot of prestige, and they did a lot of beautiful things across history of time to bring peace and justice. And they integrated and married to bring peace and justice throughout the century of time. And they have a lot of beautiful things in culture. We can't forget that. But the Muslim regime that is the extremists do, and they shouldn't have ever. I was shocked when they did it in UK and all the areas and all the countries that they do. And thank God they're not in India, because India and Jews, they get along. But in other areas, all the countries they went through. And I was shocked. I just saw that in Russia. I knew that they had problems, but there was more shootings just recently. And so we need to come together and realize that this is more than the eye could see. You need to pray. You need to look at in the heart and psychologically what they're trying to do. It's a mind game across the world, and the protesters, they're being paid, a lot of them being paid, but they're not going to help you. In Isaiah, it says, and this is Isaiah, it's not my writing, it says that that they won't they will bring shame to you protesters, okay, and the ones that don't see the whole picture, because maybe they don't realize they'll bring shame to you, and they won't help one little bit. They won't help you when you go to them and support them. And this is in Isaiah, like Egypt. You put your trust in Egypt, in the Pharaoh, and that's what it is. That you put your trust in an Egyptian Pharaoh that used people for slavery and people for their own ideas. And that's what they did in the old times when Moses was walking across the Egyptian land, and he was a king, and then he saw how they beat the slaves, and that's what they're doing to the Palestinians, and that's what they're doing to you protesters. They're not going to help you. It's relative. Are they helping the Palestinians? No, they're not helping the Palestinians. All they're doing is bringing war. They didn't make sure the Palestinians had home, and I disagree. The Palestinians, the ones that want peace, their homes shouldn't be taken away from them. Someone should not enter it. That's one thing I disagree. But this is war, and there's so much going on, and there's a lot of people, so it's hard to control every little bit. And they are allowing to bring food and everything. But so ask yourself, why don't they use that money to bring peace and get the Palestinians out that don't want to respect the Israelite law? Okay. And then it shows that they want to go to other countries and states. And they said in the beginning, when I did my posting and studies about this, they said they want to overtake USA and also parts of Europe. So we need to come together. My name is Lucia Arden, Lucia Arden News. Please support us and help donate. And also, I'm a singer and a speaker, and I'm working together on event international unity and peace and justice. So we need to have people wake up, because they're ignorant of these facts. And not until you sit back and look, like this one man said, we need to back up and look at it. And the only way I agree with him, but then we need to step forward. Okay, that's why my last podcast with Podcast Business News with Jill Nicolini. Jill, she's a famous speaker, a famous news interviewer in New York. She has awards. Her name's Jill Nicolini. My name's Lucia Arden. I'm the one that's the geopolitical specialist. She's the interviewer. So she's amazing. And so she allows me to speak, which is amazing. She allows me to speak in a way where I could support, like she says, we have a powerful voice. And I do have a powerful voice, because my voice is not of mine. It's of God when I'm speaking to bring peace upon the world. So I wanted to tell you that I have that podcast, and It was June the 14th of 2024. You could look it up at Podcast Business News in New York. My name's Lucia Arden with Jill Nicolini, and I sent it out. But I want to tell you that we need to realize this is truth. We need to look at and chart this. And then also another thing that we have to realize is that Hezbollah has all this money, okay? They have all this money, and Hamas are using a lot of money. Make it like a equation, math equation. And so it's more than the money they're using and all the death. And then in between is Palestine. Palestine has to use a lot of life. Their life in any of their little things that they have is gone because the powerhouse of Hezbollah and Hamas want evil. And they talked about it, they use it as the evil axis. And that's a perfect word. I got that from a man that was on LinkedIn that talked about this. He said that that Hamas and Hezbollah is the evil axis. Iran and these and Hamas in these areas that are the Islamic regime. And so it's perfect. And the reason why axis is because they're trying to go in every area. And so then going back to that equation, so think right there on the first line to help you protesters is Hezbollah and Hamas, and then more than sign, like a V laying down horizontally, okay, more than sign. Then in the middle is the Palestinians, and they're losing their death. They have a lot of also loss of evil too, okay? But then they're in the middle of this. And then there's Israel, okay? And Israel has tried to save. They're not equivalent. So they're not equivalent to them. So it's equivalent sign. It's equal sign with a wave on top, and you cross it out. And then also with the world, all the states that they've gone in the countries are equal to Israel. Do you understand? That's common sense. The ones that they're trying to overtake and start trouble in each state, each country, correct? So do you see that equation? It's Hezbollah and Hamas is more than of all the death, money and death and evil, the evil axis. As the man said, he said it perfect. I love that axis, that word axis, because that's what I was trying to say, because it's geopolitical. And I saw all the things that they were doing to try to prove the point. And then in between is the Palestinians, because they use them, as I said, as a human tool for death and military tool, but as a body, like a body of psychological control, mind control of the world, to show that there's death up on these innocent Palestinians, but they're the one that did it. And then the Palestinians, or some of them are, have a sign that's less than the Hezbollah and Hamas, and some are not equivalent, the ones that don't agree. So the ones that are less than Hezbollah of evil and don't have monies, they need to leave. But the ones that want to respect Israel, they need to stay and have a home. And they're equivalent to the peace and justice that should be there in that area, in the two-state country. And that's biblical, the two-state country there. And then the equivalent, there's equivalent sign with the Palestinians that want to accept and respect the Israelites, and then also ones that's not equal to the Palestinians. That they should leave. And then the next to the Israelites is equal to all the countries that respect peace and justice. And many of those we just saw, because that they're going in, not only USA, but they went into UK and what other countries in Europe they went in and tried to destroy. This is very, very serious. So we need to realize and show the protesters, why would they spend so much money and at the same time, the same day, to bomb and destroy Israel? Okay, why didn't they come to a peace treaty to separate the nation and give peace amongst the people? But no, they did it the other way. But plus, to prove the point that they're imperialistic worse than imperialistic, they're Hitlerian deformity, a destruction, deformity, and deception. And that's how they are. It's actually maybe even a new ideology, because they take the old school, old world ways, and they don't have any diplomacy of war, and they have a lot of war atrocities of war. And so they even have, I would say, another coined term of a deformity of, of the death of individuals, because that shows they don't want individualism of the people, even because they don't allow the person to be who they could be, by even showing that they use the Palestinians as a shield. When you get down to it sociologically, and also look at the details. So the protesters are being paid, many are paying, but they're in the wrong because they're not looking at all the issues with this. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I hope all is well with everyone this beautiful week that's coming up, that we need to pray, number one, to God. There's only one God, and the God of the highest. And the God of the highest, the most highest, is the God of Abraham. And we need to pray for our country. We need to pray for Hamas and Hezbollah, that many leave and they come to salvation of God, that they listen, because many have, I heard, and that they turn away because they're not going to win. They're not going to win because God always protects the Jews. And the Israelites, he always protects his people. I'm not saying there's going to not be any legalities or problems, but we need to come together and show and see this and show that this is a mass control of geopolitical powers, of the deformity of the individual life of people across the world, to try to take the soul of life away from them. That's what they want to do. The Hezbollah and Hamas, the Iranian Islamic regime. But they're not going to. We are going to work together. First, we're going to pray. We're going to do negotiations in peace. And we're going to ask for them to leave. And then otherwise, we need to protect ourselves. God bless you. God bless you. This is Lucia Arden. All is well. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, in the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you.